Welcome to Larp For Climate online conference. Today, we really want to share and present climate education games scenarios and also connect you with the authors and designers of the games. In the live on the Facebook, there is a chat where you can ask questions about each game and we will be passing them to the authors. Also today, we want to create some kind of a space for a networking and connecting and collaboration of all the climate education activists and educators. We greet you from Nausicaa Hub in Kraków, but also with us are online our friends and partners from Larp For Climate Partnership, from Greece and Norway and Estonia, and you will have a chance to hear them live and ask in a moment. First, I will just share a little bit about the whole initiative. What is it? So, Larp For Climate is an international initiative which goal is to support climate educators with ready-to-use easy tools. Engaging tools, because imagine there's so many of them, games with very long and hard instructions, and it is not that we don't have access, it's just that there are too many of them. So that's why we were focusing on selecting the best practices, the best tools that later could be played all over schools, festivals, wherever it is needed. How it was created? In 2021, Nausicaa team with Fridays for Future Poland, young people with support of Kraków municipality, we started doing the Larp For Climate. That was a pandemic time and it was harder to go on streets to protest, but there was still a big demand of engaging tools that can be used especially in schools or in youth centers or in cultural educational places. So a bunch of young people, they were thinking how to engage their peers. And together with them, with our experts from the game design, we created first games. Later, from 2022 and currently until now to 2024, we expanded it into an international initiative with the funding of Erasmus Plus program. And then we invited for the partnership our friends from Peipsi MTU from Estonia and Alibier from Norway and Larpifiers from Greece. All of them experts in their fields. All of them really connected with the sustainability, climate education, but also expert LARPers. And if you are an activist or a climate educator but are still thinking, yes, games I understand, but LARP, what is it? It's not that obvious for everybody. So live action role playing is more engaging in person, where you physically embody a role. So in this way, it can affect cognitively and behaviorally and with affective aspects. In that way, on all the three aspects can be moved and touched. So this kind of improvised, fabular games, narrative games, can be easily used in different groups, in different institutions. All the games at total were played more than 200 times in 12 different countries. Also in South America, that some of the youth workers from the trainings, they took scenarios and they just took it to different countries. Right now also some of the games are translated into Turkish, so they are going beyond Europe. And just a climate perspective, aka Fortitude, alone, last year was played 50 times in secondary schools. And approximately each class has 30 students. So easily you can see that it was around 1,500 secondary school students who were LARPing, actively LARPing in Kraków schools. And in this way, we are aiming at the social change. Also, what it is important is that you as educators and activists will get an easily to facilitate game. And I'm going to show you in a moment a website where you can find all the scenarios, not only in English, but also translated to Greek, Estonian, Norwegian, and Polish. And you can use them freely. It is an open source. You can also adjust them. You can contact us. Another thing is that we are really open for creating some kind of a platform where educators exchange good practices. That means that if you have your game, we can upload it and we can show it on the website. We can collect them and show the good practices so we can exchange what works, what doesn't, and use them for the common good. So now let's go to the website and I will show you how easily you can get access to the open scenarios. So as you see here on nausicaa.eu/Larp for Climate, you have a little information about the whole initiative, how it was made and how is it going. You have a short promo video where we are summarizing each of the games, but what interests you most is how to get the cherry on the cake, which is the scenario. They are hidden under the photos and pictures of the games. So as you see, here are our games. We will go one by one to check how does it work. So you just click on the picture. It sends you to the summary. Oh, this is a pig group. Ah, it's a walking board game. Oh, for how many players? Then you are checking if it's suitable or not for your group. And then you go to the scenario. For example, you pick up English. And it is easy step by step said how to facilitate it. You don't need to play it before. We spent lots of time testing, playing, changing instructions so they would be really easily understandable. And all the things you can get there, like how to cut materials, how to use them, it is all in one document. Another thing, you don't need to open several documents with 100 pages. You just have one document and it contains it all. So let's go to another one, a wonderful Estonian Tree of Life. Again, I'm going to English because this is for me the most easily understandable. And I just must tell you about it that look at amazing pictures because they were made by our friends from Estonia. Isn't it cute? This bark creature or fruit creature. So you will get a chance in a moment to hear all about those games. I'm just showing you how it is that, yeah, it's not just we are talking about those games. It is that you are getting ready to use scenario. And those scenarios, they have everything. And let's go. And let's say that you want it in your language. You see, Ceremony for Hope. You can have it in Norwegian if you want. Or in Greek. And again, So all of them, they have the same pattern. And in this way, it's easier to understand how it works. You just click and go, and voila! You even can have it in a marvelous Greek. Some of the scenarios are even with the pictures showing you easy way and more sophisticated ways, like if you want to go a little bit crazy and make your own paint, you can do it with a natural paint. So you have options and you are guided by hand, step by step with this, and you can pick up any of the scenarios. So you see, it is very easy. On this website you don't have anything else, just this, so you are not overloaded with information. You just go and pick up the scenario. And if you have your own games and scenarios, we will be very happy to add them and to promote you and to send it to you. And in this way, we will have everything in one place. Right now, we are going to have a little more insight into each game, and you are very welcome to ask questions on the chat to the game designers. I'm now passing the mic to Zbyszek Janczukowicz, the founder of the whole project, but also game designer of Pig Groove. Zbyszek, can you tell us what is it about? Is it about pigs?
So, hi. I will present the Pig Groove game, which is a combination of a LARP and a big-scale walking board game, which takes place in the whole room, which is symbolically divided into a groove, a market, and a tax office. The players go all around the whole table, and they play local farmers poor local farmers who have to are feeding their pigs in a local groove because they have no other land. The groove is the same for everyone. The pigs are owned by each of the families. Well, it's a game with a trick. Everyone wants to get rich, and there are enough resources in the groove for everyone to get rich. But if they exploit the groove too recklessly, too fast, and don't think about the common goods at all, they will deplete the groove in a few rounds, and the game ends in a catastrophe, and everybody loses. The mechanics is pretty simple. It's about the tragedy of the commons. When we explore common goods recklessly, everybody loses. But with the role-playing element, that they are local farmers, they have some family relations, and the story, LARP is actually what gets it emotional. And I've seen so many times the players actually shocked by losing and learning in this moment. I can show you a triangle, which represents a group, a board for each family. And we actually have little wooden pigs which are placed on the groove. It's a game. It's a game for youngsters and adults as well. I saw both of them having fun. We already started with the groups of 13 years plus. It's pretty flexible with the players. 10 is enough. We can host up to 25 of them. And it is a game that fits in one box. We can carry it to a classroom. And we can play, it's possible to play it in 45 minutes, it's possible to play it in 90 minutes with a longer debriefing. So again, a big walking board game with LARP elements, which is designed to teach some positive attitudes about the climate.
Good. Pigs It's a pity you cannot see them because they are tiny piggies and they are so cute. And I've seen it many times played, and I love it how people are frustrated when they lose, but then how happy and satisfied they are when they finally got how does it work. To think about the tragedy of the commons. Do we have any questions?
I see a question. How many times the game was run, and did the players have fun if they couldn't win?
Oh, that's a good question.
Well, we run the game around 25 already. In 95% of cases, the players lose, and this is exactly the designed educational moment. Sometimes, when there is enough time, we give the players a second chance to play the game again. And what we thought as designers, when they play it again, they will play in a more cooperative mode. They will be more conscious about the resources and environment, and everybody will win. To our surprise, we saw when the kids get a second choice, they ruin everything and destroy the groove even faster. Because everyone wants to get rich as fast as possible before the whole planet breaks. That's how they behave, but that's exactly when we want to debrief, when we want to talk, and we want to reflect about these models.
Good. I like when people are losing because lots of emotions are coming, and then there is a very good debriefing, talking about it, like why it came like that.
And there is a comment, then the Greek players managed to win on the first try, so big congratulations for that.
So you see, it's not... some are smart enough to actually break the code from the very beginning. But the time is running and we have marvelous games to be presented. So let's switch into our amazing partners and ask them about the next game. So let's go to Zoom. And let's see if the Tree of Life, edu-larp Community and Ecosystem by KCMTU, by Ederi. Can we have a little bit of insight into it?
Thank you. Yes, I'm Ederi from Peipsi Center for Transboundary Cooperation, and could you please, can I share screen, because I have a short presentation and maybe it would be nice to show.
Sure. Please share the screen.
Okay, why? It says it's disabled. Maybe you can check.
I see. And I'm connecting with my technical support. And can we make able to share the screen by the attendees? It needs to be by the administrator. It's coming.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah, as long as it so I can.
So go on and it will be done. We can start just introduction and then the presentation will follow. So come.
Yes, as it was said that we developed one game that is more for younger school children, and it's about a tree where the name is a Tree of Life, and the central idea is to teach psychological balance, and we made our game is like a model of a small ecosystem where something is wrong, and yeah, no, it's not coming. Something is wrong, and all children who are playing the game, they are some characters of the tree, and they come together for a big meeting, and that's a central action actually in our game, where all characters have to agree how they can help each other, what they can do to get the balance of ecosystem back. And yeah. Yes, and all together they have to answer to the questions like what's the matter of the tree, what is the problem, and what has happened, who needs to solve the problem, what kind of characters have to help each other, and the main idea is that every group of children they promise to do something, and for example, they promise, okay, we are not consuming so much food anymore because so far they were
Just a moment, you already can share your
Okay,
presentation.
nice. Let's try again. Yes, it's sharing time. It's a sharing time, and yes.
Yep,
Here is
we can see it perfectly. Great, great. Awesome.
the tree of life. We had a big tree, and actually, when we started when the participants are playing it, it's nice to have on the wall. For example, you can draw with some kind erasable things, a big tree. Yes, as I said, the main idea was to talk about ecological balance and the impact of overconsumption, and how what we can do to what we can do. And there are 5 different groups where are 2 to 6 players in each group. And here you can see our characters. They were park characters, fruit creatures, and shade creature, sun creature, root creature. They were living on the different places of the tree. For example, root creatures. They are responsible for the life of the roots. They were responsible of getting some resources. And yes, and the main action is to have a big meeting where they are talking about the problems, and and they have some questions to solve. Here you can see our testing in one school in Värska Gymnasium. They had this big meeting, and usually there is one big meeting, but during the meeting, participants can go into smaller groups to discuss in their smaller communities. Root creatures, they are together, and leaf creatures, they are together just to decide what to do. Okay, and what they can experience during the game is that everything is interconnected, and small changes can have big effects, like in our global system. And they will study that when the ecosystem is out of balance, it is affecting everyone's life. And and we don't have equal resources in the world. That's also one thing that they can think about. And yes, as it is educational role-play game, then the most important part is feedback and discussion part. And we are talking about overconsumption and social inequality. For example, it's like a model of. I have to get back my main screen. We are describing that roots are like the Asian countries, for example, where something is produced. For example, T-shirts. Asian countries are producing T-shirts and they need some water to get it. And then there is branches and some transport countries who are transporting things like park creatures. And then there are, for example, better European countries, which is leaf creatures and shadow creatures, and for example, these fruit creatures and fruits are like big corporations who have really nice life and they have some kind more resources, but they influence each other. So we are describing consumption pattern with a tree. And I think, yes, one thing. And with that game, you can talk about community gardens, and that's good. That's the thing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. But please stay with us. We are waiting. If there are any questions right now, this is your time. Here is the author, the designer. I think also the artist. Daddy, was it you who drew these little creatures?
Yes.
So you see, they were not made somehow by I. They were made by Adele. I had my pleasure coloring them as well and playing. And I've seen it played in many different ways. Sometimes more playfully, ironically. Sometimes more, like with arguing and protest. And I must also say that it is one of the most beloved games from our Climate Education Center in Kraków. That the counselors they really like to run it by themselves. That it is really easily to facilitate. It's very easy to take it to school and do it like that. So it's really recommended for this. Do we have any questions? Anything for the author?
I have a question. Did you play it with adults?
Yes, we played it with teachers. And I have to say that I prefer to play it with children because children are more creative and they are more playful. For teachers, teachers are going more to in real life. They are going to start to think, okay, we have tree and what is ecosystem, and but it's a good game for children because the children mostly 6th and 7th grades were playing it quite much in Estonia, and they don't think about the real situation. They stay in their imagined world. That's it's like it works better with children.
Okay, perhaps we should learn from them.
I must say I've seen.
Let's go with the content.
Good. Then we now go to Norway and we'll go for Ceremony for Hope, Empowerment Guide about Climate Grief by Alibier. We go to Thibault and Nina, who are with us now. I know that Thibault, you have a presentation and now you should be able to share it through the screen. We will see how it works. If not, it is in the chat, so we might check it.
Give me 2 seconds. Do you see it?
Yes, it's starting. Oh, yes, it's marvelous.
All right, it's there. Cool. Hello, I'm Thibault. I'm one of the 2 designers that created Ceremony for Hope. The other one is Nina, who is also here, who will chip in if I forget something. And ceremony for is LARP about feeling hopeless in the face of climate change and experiencing climate grief. So we wanted to target the more emotional side around climate grief and around climate change, which is climate grief very often. And this is a LARP that can be played between 4 to 20 players. That's what we recommend. You play it in groups of 4 to 6 players, and later on you also come together as a group, so you don't want to like overshoot too much. This is it's a bit more complex game. I think it's also tackling something that you get in touch with a little bit later, I imagine, and it's why we set the game to be for people who are 16 plus. I think the main target group when designing this was more actually activist groups, people who are a bit older, but of course also teenagers who get into that age where they know about climate change and also have like a very emotional response to that. They can play this as well. And I think the whole Fridays for Futures background was definitely also inspiring for this LARP. And it has like a playtime of 3 to 4 hours roughly. So what's happening? There's one workshop in which the players will learn how this ceremony is played. Then there's 2 hours of play roughly, and then 30 minutes debrief, in which then the players can reflect on the experience themselves. But if they also are very strongly moved by it, then people can also exchange resources and like point people to where to find more support maybe. And then the workshop was actually something very special about this LARP, because it's very much part of the experience. So this is a self-facilitated workshop, which means that Nina and we have created a full script that the players will read themselves. So when we've been hosting this game, we basically told them, here's the script, here's all the material that you need, the rest you will figure out yourself. So the players actually take turns reading the script and reading it to each other and introducing the way this LARP is played. And we wanted to do this because we thought if activist group just find this online and then they can just download this, have a list of the stuff they need to get, and then they need a room and can kind of do it. So there's no need for a game master in this game. And we felt it also creates a lot of ownership over the experience themselves. Everyone is setting this up. You're actually also setting up the space yourself. So the material that is provided is then used to decorate the space together. And that was very beautiful, and also the playtest and also the LARPs themselves, to see what kind of space people were making together. And then of course the workshop covers the other essential stuff, like creating a character, setting up a world, and also getting to know the score, what is happening, what are we supposed to do. And then in the ceremony, there's an opening circle where everyone starts together, and then people split into 4 groups, or up to 4 groups. And the reason for that is that the whole space is divided into 4 sections, and in each sections the players will perform a ritual. And these rituals approach climate grief from different angles. So there's one where you drop stones into a pond, and this is for like letting go of all the things that are impacting you. And then there is a mirror where you talk to yourself and so on. And one important thing that I haven't actually mentioned yet is that you play yourself in the future. So you play yourself 40 years from now. So there's this whole layer of anticipating in what kind of dreams you will have, or what kind of dreams you might have now, and then how climate change might affect those. And some of these things will become true and others will not come true. And so there's also grief around like very dreams not coming true because of climate change. And so the ceremony for hope is there to also allow people to process that grief. And so you go through these 4 rituals, and one of these rituals also writing a letter to, not necessarily to yourself, but to someone who needs to hear the things that you need to hear. And then in this closing circle, everyone gets one of these letters that has been written, and they've been written anonymously, and then they get to read them. And then everyone chooses one sentence out of the letter that they saw and read it out loud to everyone. And this is like a really touching moment usually in the game, to sort of hear the sort of collective voice of how to be with climate change. Yeah. And so what context is this for? I touched a little bit on that already. So this is not about physically responding to climate change in any way. It's not so much an intellectual game. This is really an emotional response to the emotional overload, I called it. Like we are met or faced with a lot of these informations and a lot of really bad forecasts, and there's often not so much time to actually process the emotional response that we have to all of this. And so this LARP is really for that. And that's why also, yeah, it's for schools for older children who are and will be more affected by climate change, of course, because they're growing up now and will get to face the consequences more severely than we do. And then also for activist groups that have a strong focus on climate change. But I don't think it's only them. It's like for any group that deals with change. I think it can be very helpful and also fun and sad. Yeah, and so the expected outcomes, of course, that's a bit hard to predict sometimes. But the whole setup of Ceremony for Hope is that despite all the hardship, there is always hope. There's always happiness to be found somehow. And this LARP is a reminder to that. So we actually would like people to come out of this LARP a bit lighter and more connected with other people, not feeling alone with the grief that they're feeling. This is also a LARP that fosters emotional maturity, like really stepping into a space where all emotions that you have to a certain thing are welcome. And then finally also like building community through that, making a space where it's not so much about delivering or being smart. It's where everyone can feel what they're feeling and are allowed to be seen in that. And that can help build community and build also resilience towards despair. Yes. Any questions? Or Nina, do you have some things you want to chip in at this point?
No, I think we leave it open for questions.
There are questions on the chat on the Facebook, and about the self-facilitation by the players. Few people said that it's a wonderful idea because they have more responsibility for the experience. But is it not risky, or how to manage the risk? You know that it's a sensitive topic, and you just leave it up for the players.
Do you want to answer that, Nina?
Yeah, I can answer that. You could say it's risky, but the facilitator is still there in the background. However, I do believe that actually leaving some trust in the players and that they're there for each other means a lot. Also, during the workshop, this bond is built up, and they are built in the design that you're there for each other during it. So I think it's a risk worth taking. What would you say, Thibaut?
I think so too. And I think this is also where it's important to, if you do it self-facilitated, play it with older people. I'm not even sure I would really recommend 16-year-olds to just self-facilitate it without any sort of grown-up around. But it definitely puts a lot of trust in people's capacities to be there for each other. And we do also, as you said, if you are setting up this the first time, do read the whole script before, and do get in touch with someone who has played it. It helps. We had this also in test runs where people were looking at us then like, are we interpreting this correct? Yeah.
Any other questions?
I would just add that we played it in Poland with the climate activists, and they really like rallied up, because what they said that everyone has doubt, can we really stop the climate change? What can we do? But they were with it alone. It is something private that you cannot speak, or you don't have the tools how to speak about it with people. And they they talked about it. They opened during the game. They had a briefing about it, and they realized, okay, everybody has this like issues or doubts. It's not only me, and they bonded together because now they shared some trust, and it raised the motivation to go on. So they really said that it was this opening experience. Okay, now we can talk about this stuff.
That's amazing.
I have a question because the first photo, like it was in a black box, it was in a dark room. Where was it that run made?
The pictures was from Black Box Copenhagen.
Ah, and how was that run? Because it was with LARPers. How LARPers approach the topic?
It was very emotional. There were there were multiple people crying, and also someone actually contacted me a year later saying it was the most significant experience she had during that year. So that was a lot of love in that room. But if we shouldn't only talk the positive up, then there's also been reports of people feeling a little bit lonely in the game, and actually like realizing how much grief they have. So how they are connecting is definitely an issue, and I think we should be more aware of how this climate change are impacting us emotionally.
Yeah. We could talk and talk about it because it's a very big topic, climate grief, and it will rise more. So it's good that we have a tool which can tackle it in some way. We cannot deal with it, but in some way we can address it. Thank you so much for that. Any questions? If not, we just go to the next. So let's go to the Reservoir outdoor game about water scarcity by Larpifier. Hello, hello.
Hello, how are you doing? Today I will be here to present the Reservoir by Larpifier, the Greek LARP, which is the only LARP that was run in hotter climates. And as such, it was created as an outdoor experience, as a way to go out in the park and have fun with friends. That must have been a nightmare to everybody else, but hey, we do what we can in the place where we are. So we kind of designed this game as intended to be a game and not an educational kind of design. Generally, it is both my personal belief and the people we're talking about that climate education has got a lot of agendas and a lot of propaganda that goes towards saying that it is your personal responsibility to change things, which mostly isn't true. You need to be informed about what is going on. And this kind of game is meant to be fun with friends. You go outside, you play a game, but it also leaves you with some wondering questions about what you want to do and how you want to go about knowing what the result will be. So mostly what we wanted it to be is a game, kind of like a soft way to delve into this subject without feeling like you have to get a lot of information in or that you have to perfectly understand the matter at hand. The other thing we also wanted to include was creativity. This game was made mostly for adults, young people, but it can also be incorporated in schools, and we wanted it to be able to be incorporated in a school curriculum. So every aspect of the game is made by upcycled or recycled materials that you can make within the class. And we wanted it to be like an ongoing thing that you can prepare throughout the school year. So you have 1 hour, like one school lesson of making the materials and showing the kids how they can upcycle things that they already have, how they can use things that they already have in their places, and purpose that into making the game and leaving that for the class, perhaps for the next class to have them, and kind of sharing the line, but also how to forage and use what's being foraged. All of that is in the documentation in order to see what your native plants are and how you can use them to make fabrics and paints, or how you can contact people around you that have leftover towels that they want to throw away and reuse them for the game. So the actual game is more like a game of tag. It's non-verbal, and it kind of delves into this. If we cannot communicate with others, our basic response is to create conflict and to see that conflict within ourselves and how we have this conflict with the environment, seeing it as a way that it gets in our way instead of seeing it as a way of us living around it. It's a game that's more enjoyable during the summer because you're actually playing water wars and are trying to tag another person and make them wet. Again, it's a lot of action, a lot of having fun, a lot of just mindlessly not minding your actions and then debriefing on these actions that you are not minding at all. And this is also why we have this structured brief and debrief, to kind of get you into the mentality of being into a tribe, being into a society kind of that wants to survive, wants to be comfortable, wants to live. And also in the debrief, you see that this kind of wanting to live, this kind of wanting to be comfortable goes against living in the long term, because you're kind of shooting yourself in the leg. This was great fun designing and great fun running. We've seen lots of players giggle among themselves while playing the game and losing tragically. And then when the debriefing hits, a lot of them kind of went into this was very thought-provoking and I need to research more because I had no idea. The game mostly speaks about water scarcity, but I believe that the general message of the game is that whenever humanity tries to win against nature, nature wins 100% of the time. Or even if we manage to get what we want, it will be at a cost so high that it wasn't even worth it.
Oh, sounds scary. And now comes time for the questions. Opportunity to ask the designer and the author of the game directly. Do we have any question coming for the reservoir? Quick. Questions.
There is a question. Did you run in any surprises or weird situation when running the game?
So the game was designed in a way kind of like Piggrove, that the players will lose. Subconsciously, we expect them to always make the wrong choice. And so far, in none of the runs have the players made the right choice, because the game is winnable. And the surprises were more like, we run it with children, we run it with grown-ups, and it's always kind of the same response. Every time, they always kind of do as much conflict as they can in the first run and just take everyone out. And then they kind of don't understand why that happened. We had a run that was a little bit more gentle, but still a lot of people died within the game. And we had a run that was a little bit more cooperative. But that's pretty much it.
And a questions to more Nordic countries here. How did you manage to run a Greek game supposed to be for hot summer weather in Greece?
Well, in the hot summer weather, it's very refreshing because, as Johanna is asking, during the game, what you actually have is 3 buckets of water, the reservoirs, and you're trying to fill from the main reservoir that's full of water into your tribe's water. There's 2 opposing tribes, and they're trying to survive by filling their water buckets with these cloths. And the more you drain from the water and the more you use this water to attack the other tribe, the less water you have and the less possible it is to win the game. So essentially the concept is playing tag if you want to have a fight, or just resource management if you want to win. But this is a game on trust, so trying to trust each other kind of doesn't work because you don't have the communication aspect, and that's how conflict is created and how the game is run. You asked about Nordic countries. I'm just seeing the questions pop up and answering them as well. In the Nordic countries, I remember the Norwegians telling me that they run it in the snow, and it was much harder to run it in cold weather because I think they run it in February, January or something. And yeah, that went great. There's also a question about how did we design the debriefing. So it's a structured discussion. You have some talking points, and the facilitator is kind of asking these talking points, and having a circle where everyone is saying their feelings and why they did what they did, pretty much. And that's kind of how the debriefing goes into realizing that how you handled this matter was in your hands all along. And the reason why conflict started is because you couldn't trust the people around you, and you couldn't make space for other people to exist. You just wanted your own tribe to be successful.
And it's getting hotter and hotter, so the game actually might give some refreshment. Thank you so much. We are running out of time a little bit. Then we are moving into a climate perspective. That means we are jumping from a Zoom to the studio. So
yes. Okay. So climate perspectives, it used to be called Fortitude, but we changed the name to be more clear what the content is inside. It is the game from which we started. It's a diplomatic game in which the players take on their own, so climate diplomats and activists in a futuristic climate peak. And each of them is representing another country. Each of has basically a character based on the economical and ecological interests of their country. And well, everyone wants to do good, but what is good is different for each of the countries, for each of the continents, and so on. The local interests clash with a global interest to save the planet, which somehow stays in the background. When the players have, everyone is following their own agenda, and the game is especially about the climate politics, about how it works, and it's about the trust towards the politicians making the decisions for us and who is supporting what ideas. And this is not to convey the idea that, kids, you should listen to politicians and you should trust the people. It's rather reminding the players that, hey, every politician has some players' objectives printed in their suitcase, and they will follow it no matter what they say officially. So it's better to look carefully into their programs and promises and double check everything you hear. This is a very flexible game because you can play it in a room or a school class. It's from 5 to 35 players. I once ran it for 50 players in Berlin, and it still worked. It's from 1 hour to 3 hours, with a modular design, which you can find all in the scenario document. And well, We have checked it so many times. We love. I can tell you just one thing that I love it the moment when we go into the classroom and we see this, kids saying that, oh, it will be a climate lesson. So, it will be one, boring, two, politically correct. And then we ask them a question. So, the politicians have promised us to make, the world greener by the year 2050. And do you trust that they will do this? And there is a few seconds on silence, and then they slowly start saying no. And then we say, okay, so now you will play those politicians in the year 2050, and let's see what happens then. And from this moment on, the game catches and we have their attention. And I like to use this game not only as an educational tool, but a kind of like my dialogue with the young people with whom I meet. But I guess that we're running out of time, so I will leave it for more general questions, unless there is something on the chat. No, I am always happy to be contacted about the climate perspectives of any games of the project, so please feel free to just write to Nausicaa. And Patty, I'm giving the voice to you.
Yes. I just wanted to also say that I ran Climate Perspective when I was pregnant for over 100 people in a festival version, and it was also a marvel. So you see, it is very flexible. But right now we are very, very close to the end. So any final questions? Also those that will connect us, also those that any kind of activists, climate educators, LARPers who are designing sustainable connected LARPs. Let's write, let's talk, let's connect, and be the change together. So, do we have any last questions or any last comments or conclusions?
There is a question on the chat, and the question is, do you plan to add more games?
It's the good question
And
to you.
Dear partners, do you plan to add any games?
No, it's, I mean, after the project ends, do you expect something more to come up?
I'm sure, but if it happens, we will share it. But I don't know if it will happen.
No, the Larp for Climate Project is just finishing in June this month after a few years of this adventure. So these games will stay with us, but we can be open for anything new that comes up. For other projects or more like personal art, initiatives. What I can say for the end, on the webpage that we were everywhere sharing and on this video, and Patricia was showing you at the start. You also have the contacts to all our partners here who are speaking today. So feel free to contact either Nausicaa or the authors or the partner organizations. And I'm pretty sure all of us would like to collaborate to use and carry on the games with you. A formal note, all the scenarios are free to use, so you don't need to ask for permission. It would be nice, however, if you let us know that, hey, I played it, it was nice, just, a positive touch. It is also, you cannot, of course, you cannot sell those materials as yourself, but you can facilitate it as a paid service. So all the climate educators and activists from outside of the project, you can also take those scenarios, print the games, and get paid to facilitate it for any kind of teaching institutions in your country. This is totally possible. And the last word, Nausicaa is very open for any kind of collaborations, whether it's formal or non-formal. We are still very much engaged in climate education, and we are still looking for some new, innovative, groundbreaking tools how to tackle these issues. Well, this is the just ending of the project, which was co-financed by the Erasmus Plus, but under any umbrellas or just on a private scope, we are very happy to meet.
And I will have the last few sentences. I just want to say that Johanna is saying that there is on Facebook a group for educators, Larp Climate, and so we can also meet there. Also, there were more questions, but for that, let's just meet later and talk, because it was run not only in schools, but also on tool fairs, international tool fairs, for municipality officials, so many different areas. But this is, just the beginning. This is just the beginning for us to start collaborating and networking and connecting. So please stay in touch. Thank you very much. Thank you, dear, you've done marvelous thing, and I'm so proud of the results. Like, there are so many games and so many scenarios which are so vague, so long, so with unclear instruction, and all of this, what is done is just a cherry on the top. I'm so proud and happy that it is done, and thank you very much for all your amazing work, and let's meet somewhere later in the future and do more games for climate education. Thank you very much for being with us, and see you later. Hit the website, download your scenarios and play them, and later tell us how it went. See ya!